So my name is Matthias Winkenbach. I'm a research scientist at the MIT Center for Transportation and Logistics. And in that center, I'm directing the Megacity Logistics Lab, which is a lab around last mile logistics, so bringing goods and services into large urban centers. One of the key differences is that the shipments that you're looking at are much smaller typically, much more fragmented, because you're literally dealing with overcoming the last mile to the final consumer, or at least to the point of sale. And that is usually not, that means you usually don't look at full truckloads, but you look at individual shipments to individual recipients. That means you have to optimize, for instance, routes with a large number of stops along the way. And you're also dealing with more complexity. Cities are more complex because they are dense, they are often congested. So you deal with a lot of uncertainty, a lot of random disruptions of the delivery process that you do not have so much in a non-urban setting. Well, one key conflict that we see is that a lot of people are getting used to, for instance, the convenience of e-commerce, of being able to to order something today and to get it delivered tomorrow or probably even on the same day. We're all used to getting the products that we want, the food that we eat, delivered to our homes in the cities. And we don't really see that logistics is actually the key enabler for that kind of consumption, for that kind of convenience. At the same time, people often see freight traffic in cities as a negative thing, as a bad thing, because obviously it contributes to a lot of the problems that we see, like congestion, noise, emissions. But it's a necessary evil unless you want to basically cut back on your consumption behavior or on the convenience that you receive as a consumer. So balancing this interest between consumption on the one side and have a livable and nice to live in city is basically what we're trying to deal with in our research. Multi-tier systems as such are not something that we've never seen before, but let's say in the past we've seen a lot of so-called logistics sprawl. So logistics facilities moving further and further out of the urban centers, because urban space became more and more constrained, more and more scarce, therefore higher in value. So logistics operations moved out of the city because they were not considered to be as much value adding as, for instance, a retail store in a city. But now that consumer expectations are rising, people are expecting faster delivery, more flexible delivery options, more tailor-made, customized delivery experiences. There is a need for logistics operations to move back closer to the customer. So there's a need for certain fulfillment operations, certain inventories to move back into the city. And that's where multi-tier systems come into play, and where we try to answer questions like how many and what kind of satellite facilities do we need in a city? Where should we have them? And what should their exact function actually be? Should they hold inventory? Should they only be a transshipment point? Or should they be something in between? And that's where research is needed to find basically an optimal answer for companies that need to serve customers in dense urban environments. We work with companies that primarily serve retail outlets or bars, restaurants, so basically points of consumption, not necessarily the final consumer. And we work with e-commerce companies, logistics providers who actually do the final delivery to the home of the consumer. And both problems have certain similarities, but also certain differences. So for instance, if you think about delivery to the home, to the final consumer, your delivery problem is usually more constrained. So you have, for instance, customer-specific time windows. You have a higher risk of the recipient not being present and your delivery to fail. And all of this creates additional cost, additional complexity. Also, your drop sizes, so the amount of product that you deliver to an individual location, are smaller than if you deliver to a retail outlet. That means you are dealing with routes that have probably 50, 60, up to 100 stops within one single vehicle route. For instance, UPS serves on average 120 people per route. And that is different compared to a route of maybe 10 or 15 customers that someone like Anheuser-Busch delivers to when they deliver their beer to the bars and little stores somewhere in the city center. And yeah, that drives complexity, that drives also computational effort to find the real optimum to serve, or the really optimal way to serve customers. And therefore, the challenges are slightly different.